Afternoon VC, it's Steve Whitty here with a video of some more recent finds. This is volume 56. I hope everyone's well. It's been a week since I've done my last video, just been a little bit under the weather. And the sun's been shining. I've just come back from seeing my niece, giving her some records that she was very pleased about. So as I said, these are some recent finds. So just 10 records. I've got quite a few, and rather than make a dirty, great big long video, I think it's probably better for me. It's easier to store in the cloud if I do plenty of short ones where it's under 15 minutes, and the people don't lose their interest. So without further ado, the first album I'm going to show you. It's the self-titled album by The Primitives. I believe this came out in 1988. Primitives were a band from Coventry, led by singer, I think it was Tracy Tracy. The big track on here is Crash. This was the top 10 single. Very sort of like new wave-ish, a little bit different to what it was at the time. It was recorded in the 80s. It was actually quite a good album. I was pleased to pick that up. It was in the pound bins. You know that I like to spot a bargain or two in there, and this was the case. Next album. Well, it's not an album as such. They call it a mini album. This is Chris Rea, the specially priced mini album, Volume 2. So there is a Volume 1. This is Stainsby Girl, which was a hit single for him. Stainsby, I think, was a school quite up in the Tees area, Middlesbrough area, and I think if you were to go out with Stainsby Girl, you sort of like quite made it. They were a bit more upper class than your normal run-of-the-mill girls at that time. There's 5 tracks on the album, and you could be argued, do you call this a mini album or you call it a 12-inch single? I think it was at the point they just decided to call it a mini album, and hence why it was only paid no more than £2.99 at the time. Again, I only paid £1 for it. Next one, again, I think it was either £1 or a couple of pounds. Carly Simon's Greatest Hits. Something I'd been umming and ahhing about some time, and I thought I'd just take the plunge and pick it up. You've got here, obviously, You're So Vain. You've got Mockingbirds on here as well. The way I've always heard it should be, the right thing to do, Mockingbird, Legend, In Your Own Time. I haven't got time for the pain, You're So Vain, With No Secrets, Night Out, Anticipation and Attitude, Dancing. This is like Volume 1. Not seen Volume 2. I've seen plenty of her albums in the wild, so it might be something I might consider picking up again. More of a Carly Simon stuff in the future. I have got the copy of the single Why, which I think was the Chic recorded track from 1982. Another album I was pleased to pick up. So you can see it's slightly damaged there on the cover, and this is a reissue of Simon & Garfunkel's Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme. Originally came out in 1966. As I said, this is a reissue. You can see here a nice price reissue which CBS did at the time. You can see slightly there. It's the sort of like the CBS Sun Sunshine label. Okay, get this back in. On the album, you've got Scarborough Fair, and I believe he picked this up when he was in. Paul Simon picked this up when he was in the UK before he became in the 60s, and he used to do this with Martin Carthy. And the fact that he Paul Simon went back to the US and had a successful single with it, I think sort of soured the relationship between him and Martin Carthy. I think they made up afterwards. I think it was sort of feeling that maybe it gone on a bit too long. I think Martin Carthy did play it on stage with Paul Simon. Also got on here 59th Street Bridge Song, Feeling Groovy. You've also got on here for Emily, Whenever I May Find Her, and then 7 o'clock News, Silent Night, which ends the album. I think overall a really good album. Next album I found, well, moving on to Paul Simon, and that time I picked up a copy of this 1986 masterpiece, Graceland. I know he took a lot of flack for going off to South African musicians, but I think in the end, I think it's come out as sort of like inspired. Um, this it just sounded so fresh at the time when it came out. You know, different rhythms, and it could well be argued that Paul Simon popularised world music to, and this album popularised world music to the masses. Um, Opens with Boy in the Bubble, and then you follow it with Graceland, I Know What I Know, Gumboots, Diamonds on the Soles of the Shoes. It's just a beautiful track. Then the big hit single, You Can Call Me Now, and I think the video with him and Paul Simon, Chevy Chase, it was just really good, really good. Under African Skies, Homeless, Crazy Love Volume 2, That Was Your Mother, All Around the World, or The Myth of Fingerprints. It's just absolutely just one of the great albums of all time. Really pleased I picked this up. Plenty of copies in the wild because it was so popular. An album I did pick up, and I discovered this in a charity shop, which called the Settlement Shop. It's somewhere I sometimes go in, but it's not known for its music. And I went in there, and I just spotted this, and I thought for a fiver, I thought, you know, it might be overpriced, but I don't see many of the copies of this album. Van Halen's 5150, the first album featuring Sammy Hagar on vocals, and the big hit single was Why Can't This Be Love? Produced with Don Landry and Mick Jones from Foreigner. Came out in 1986. Keyboards started to come in. Van Halen did use keyboards a lot when Jump was so successful in the 1984 album, and Eddie Van Halen sort of started utilising the keyboard a little bit more as well on here. Hype stickers actually unusually is on the back of an album. You know, it's got Why Can't This Be Love? It's a good album. I don't think it's as good as anything that produced David Lee Roth, but you know, Sammy Hagar isn't David Lee Roth. He brought something else onto the table. He also was a guitar player himself, so it sort of like freed Eddie Van Halen up a little bit. This album is The Who. It's The Who Sells Out. We'll make out from here. Now this is a reissue on Track Records. And basically it was called thing called Track on 100, and you paid no more than £1 on it. Quite a few albums were released from Track Records. Some Jimi Hendrix Experience. I've seen a copy of Axis Boulder Love with this similar type of sleeve, and I'm trying to think what else came out on here. I think Quick One was also released on here. It's really it was a good way of reissuing albums. You know, once an album had done its cycle, it tended to be deleted pretty much almost straight away. That's probably why some albums are a little bit more so rare and expensive now, because they're pretty much deleted. I've been told in France when a band's record's deleted, they just pop the whole copies and you know. But yeah, on here you've got Armenia, City in the Sky, Hyde's Baked Beans, Mary Ann with the Shaky Hand, Odorana, Tattoo, Our Love Was, and then I Can See for Miles. You know, it was a bit of a groundbreaking album because it's sort of interspersed with like jingles. It's on side 2, I Can't Reach You, Medak, Relax, Silas Stingy, Sunrise, and then Rail 1 and 2. I think it's a great album. It's sort of like precursor to, sort of like the last precursor, and then Tommy came out a couple of years later. Really, it's worth checking these copies down just because it hasn't got the original album. The pressing's good, and it sounds good. Couple of various artist albums. Now, this is an album called By Invitation Only, Alan Freeman and Guests. Now, in the 70s, Alan Freeman was a very popular DJ on Radio 1 and then in London Capital Radio. And this album came out in 1975. He was well known for really popularising rock, playing rock, interspersing with a bit of classical. And this cost me £2, and this is just an amazing compilation. On here, you've got Led Zeppelin, Rock and Roll. Led Zeppelin, A Whole Lot of Love. It's Rolling Stones is only Rock and Roll. Stephen Stills, Love the One You're With. Average White Band, Pick Up the Pieces, Buffalo Springfield, Expecting to Fly. Then something I've never heard, Fermenter, Fornica, Marconi, The World Becomes the World. Then you got Heavy Metal Kids, Rock and Roll Man, Yes, Yours Is No Disgrace, Wally, Ne Passé, which was co-produced by Rick Wakeman and Bob Harris. It was something that didn't quite take off, but it was very popular. I think on an Old Grey Whistle Test compilation, that track appeared. Roberta Flack, First Time I Ever Saw Your Face, which was somewhat at friend's wedding, and his girlfriend, his bride, requested for his first dance. Then you've got Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Connie or 9, First Impressions Part 1, 2. It's all complete, that track. And then Yes, Sound, Chaser. On side 4, you got Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, Rolling Stones, Angie, Delaney and Bonnie, Only You and I Know, Pretty Things, It Is Only Love, and then Aretha Franklin doing her version of Somewhere. This is just absolute corking. It plays beautifully. And funny enough, I thought, oh, I must be the only one that will have that. In the record shop, put another copy out a week or so after. Many people read the music press weeklies here in the UK and tended to be NME, Melody Maker. My magazine of choice was Sounds, because I was listening to a lot of heavy rock and it was known as heavy rock. And Sounds used to bring out every year do an album with a record label, and then bring out an album. I don't know if it came with the magazine, you brought it separately. But oh no, the album is free, so it came with the paper. I don't know if it came with the paper, and you had to send a coupon off to get the paper. I think they did about 10. So this is volume 1, Good for Nothing. And on here you've got Eric Clapton, Hello Old Friend, Crosby and Nash with Spotlight, Pat Travers with You Don't Love Me, The Jam, Art School, Gene Clark, In the Pines, Charlie, Don't Look Back, Jack Bruce Band, House Tricks, Doctors of Madness, Out. On side 2, you got Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, Starstruck, Steve Gibbons Band, Right Side of Heaven, Rolling On, Easy Street, Feel Like Heaven, Golden Earring, Bombay, Pace Ashton Lord, Dance With Me Baby, Atlanta River Section, Sky High, and Bartley James Harvey's Titles. This album came out through the Polydor record. And I thought, well, this is the first time I'd seen something like that. But then a couple of days later, a guy set up a little store. He comes once every blue moon, you sell it all at work. And I picked up volume 2, Sounds Good to Us. Now, this came through the CBS record label. And on here, you've got Santana's Dawn Go Within, Paradox by Kansas, Original Model by the Kersal Flyers, Broken Heart Blues, Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, He's a Psycho, The Vibrators, Let It All Out, Ram Jam, The Ballad of Crafty Jack by Lone Star. On side 2, you got Draw the Line, Aerosmith, Cat Scratch Fever, Ted Nugent, Meaningless by Cafe Jacques, Want You to Want Me, Cheap Trick, Forever Young Sparks, and then finally One Too Many Lovers by Crawler. A good compilation. It makes me want to just check out some, if I can find any more of these, because it looks like there's some corking tracks on the album. And I had a look on Discogs. I think there's 8, maybe 8 or 10. And it might be just worth checking out. And a different label each year, so it weren't the same artists. So that ends this haul here. Hope you like what I've shown you. Now, if you wish to comment, feel free. I'll always reply back. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you wish to do. And if you're happy with what you liked, like you've seen, and you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. So VC, until the next video, you take it easy. I'll see you soon. Bye.